Gelb hosts evenings on the CBS Sports Radio Network, comes on with us every week this hour during football season. You can hear him Sunday afternoons as well. Gives you a little whip around coverage of all the NFL games right there on CBS Sports Radio Network. I'm going to start with, we've covered seaweed, we've covered almonds. I'm going to start with the Dolphins. 2-0. Granted, it's only 2 weeks, but they're 2-0. We feel like they've looked pretty damn good. What do you know about this team through 2 games? What can you say confidently?
That as long as Tua is healthy, and I know that Jalen Waddle, right, is dealing with the concussion, but with the speed of Waddle and Tyreek Hill, they're going to put up a lot of points each and every week. They're going to be one of the more explosive and high-octane offenses in the league, and ultimately it's going to come down to not only the health of Tua, but can the defense make the stops? And I do think this defense has enough talent as the season goes on and they get better fit to what Vic Fangio wants to do, where this is going to be one of the better teams in the NFL this year.
And Zach, speaking of the AFC, I know we're going to talk about the NFC because you got me in trouble last week, but
Dallas' favorite son, Channing Crowder.
but the AFC right now.
Go to Papa Dough
I love
anymore.
you, come here.
You can't even go to Papa Dough anymore in Dallas. It used to be his favorite place.
I'm not going to Dallas anymore. But in the AFC, what are some teams that you're worried about? Because the AFC was supposed to be loaded. The Bengals are supposed to be great. Even the Chiefs right now, which I think they'll bounce back, but their defense are keeping them in games. Right now, what are those teams in the AFC the Dolphins have to worry about?
I would say that it's still Kansas City, obviously, because, look, they went to Jacksonville, and that defense, which we all say is not a strength of that team, held the Jaguars to 3 field goals. They didn't even get a touchdown, and we all know how good the Jaguars' offense can be. I'm not ready to say that the Bengals are done, but I know last year they were 0-2 and they still got to the AFC Championship game. I just wonder if their hubris is going to come back to affect them this year, where they're just resting on, we did it last year being 0-2, so we'll do it again, because they talked a lot of smack going into that Cleveland game. They talked smack going into that Ravens game, and I love Jamar Chase, but he hasn't shown up through the first 2 games of the season and cost me a bet because he had a touchdown right in the end zone and he dropped it, which would have had a parlay on an anytime touchdown that would have won me some cash. So the Bengals, until they lose 3 or 4 in a row, I still think they're a threat. But right now, I think the 3 best teams, if you look at it moving forward, if you had to project it into the future, it's Kansas City, it's the Bengals, and then also the Miami Dolphins. And if the Buffalo Bills continue to run the football with people outside of Josh Allen like they did up against the Raiders, a porous defense, I know, the Bills will also be a threat.
Are the Dolphins as fun nationally as we see them? Obviously, like Tua and Tyreek. That's fun. Everybody loves that. But Mike McDaniel at halftime running and chasing the or trying to outsprint the cameraman. Like, there are a lot of personalities outside of just Tyreek Hill who everybody loves. Are people seeing that on a national level and enjoying it as much as we are down here?
I think so. Like McDaniel's so weird. It's either you don't get what I feel like at times the joke with him and everyone gets the inside joke and I don't, or his background story and everything that he persevered through. He's a very easy guy to root for. And then Jalen Waddle's a ton of fun. That I think everyone has a soft spot for Tua because no one enjoyed what they saw last year and it was so scary. And now to see him having success early, there is some cautious optimism, I would say, with Tua Tagovailoa, where it's like, okay, that's the player he can be. Now, can he just stay healthy? I know Dolphins fans are probably tired of hearing that, but that's the way that you got to cover it.
Well, we've had these running narratives about Tua's health, about Teron Armstead. If Teron Armstead's not on the offensive line, you're going to have trouble. Well, they've been through 2 games. Teron hasn't played, and has Tua been sacked?
One time.
Yeah, one time. I mean, it's like, again, nobody wants to jinx anything, but there is some, you'd love to put to bed the if Tua can stay healthy conversation point, but you can't, and you never can. And by the way, you're going to see this with every quarterback. I mean, you just saw with Aaron Rodgers, Joe Burrow, talking about the Bengals. Mm-hmm. I mean, he retweaked his leg. So I don't think you can ever really put it to bed with any quarterback.
I said this before the start of the season about the Dolphins. The Dolphins are kind of like the 49ers light version, where they're not as accomplished and they haven't been as successful as the 49ers, but you see the way that this team is built. There's a ton of talent on defense, not as much as the 49ers. And then you look at the offensive side of the ball with just all those weapons, and it comes down to, Can the quarterback get the job done? We're seeing it so far with Brock Purdy, and so far we're seeing it with Tua Tagovailoa as well.
And then what's your concerns for the Dolphins? Is it because you brought up the defense, and I know they stopped the Patriot run game, but
yeah,
Eckler went crazy on them. I was saying it, Zach, where like I think their D-line is built to have a lead, almost like those old Indianapolis Colts teams with Peyton Manning. We're like, we're not stopping the run because we're not going to have to consistently. Is that a concern? Is the O-line, like Hawk brought up, a concern? What's your concern if the Dolphins are really going to lead the entire conference?
I would say the two concerns is the consistency of the defense and then also the offensive line. And they've been able to clearly be fine so far on the offensive side of the ball. They've been keeping Tua clean, but throughout the entire season, I just want to see if they could sustain that with the big boys up front.
Let's talk about this Dallas Cowboys conversation that Zach Gelb had with Crowder earlier in the week. So Zach hosts evenings on CBS Sports Radio, and he had Crowder on as a guest. And Crowder did not have it's the same stuff that Crowder's been saying on this show for several years. He's never been the biggest Dak Prescott fan. And it's not, correct me if I'm wrong, Crowder, it's not that you think he's a terrible quarterback.
No.
It's that you think when it comes down to the end, when you need that push, that lift to get you to the promised land, he's not the guy that's going to give it to you.
Yes, and that's the thing. But it's like I've seen it. It's what I told Zach. Like, I've seen him go up and play the 49ers. I've seen this great Dallas defense hold the 49ers under 20 points. And I've watched Dak score 12 and 17 points in the NFC playoffs. He's going to get you to the playoffs. That Dallas team is amazing. They have Pro Bowlers everywhere. It's going to get to a point, and Hawk, you heard me say this 7,000 times. We've been doing radio a long time together. It's going to be a minute and 20 left. You're going to be down by 4, and you're going to have to go score a touchdown. And I do not believe that Dak Prescott is the guy that goes and does that. We've watched it with Aaron Rodgers, and we watched it with a lot of Hall of Fame type quarterbacks where they are not going to do it at that time consistently, and Dak hasn't done it, and I don't believe Dak can do it.
So here's my take on the whole thing. I've said for years the same thing Channing Crowder has said, and I wholeheartedly agree. The thing why I believe it got such a big reaction, because I've experienced this before, is that it was someone that was not a Cowboy or someone that wasn't one of their own that said it. And I've noticed this, like even I've had Donovan McNabb on years ago basically say that Carson Wentz better start winning playoff games or he's going to be driven out of Philadelphia. And McNabb is an Eagle, legendary Eagle, but is polarizing in that fan base. And it's because someone else was, let's say, punching on their little brother. That's when they fought back. But constantly they do the punching here when it comes down to it. And a lot of Cowboys fans, I think, share the same sentiment that you did. It was an outsider saying it and not one of their own.
Well, also, there wasn't all this context in the clip that went viral. The clip that went viral is just Crowder saying, yeah, if I went
What was wrong with the clip?
There was nothing wrong with the clip. I'm not calling you out for it, but it was very one-dimensional. Hey, if I took Dak Prescott out to dinner, I'd say the reason you're not winning is you. Get it together, man. And then I think the headline was, Crowder believes Cowboys are wasting money on Dak Prescott, something along those lines. So
that Dak Prescott is overpaid. Yeah,
that Dak Prescott's overpaid.
And with what's the Spider-Man line? With great power comes great responsibility. You are on the highest paid or the highest franchise in whatever. The Dallas Cowboys are one of the most expensive franchises in the world. They're called America's team. When you have that much power as the quarterback of the America's team of one of the highest priced franchise in the world, the responsibility of that is big. We killed Tony Romo. I don't give a damn what the Dallas Cowboys are doing. They're going to be on ESPN every single Monday morning because people want to hear about the Cowboys. So when you're the quarterback of the Cowboys, why are you criticizing him? He's better than this guy. He's better than that guy. No. He's the quarterback of America's team, and I'm allowed to criticize him, and I don't think he's the guy. They say top 10. I say top 20. I would take 10-plus quarterbacks over Dak Prescott. I promise to God, in the situation, a minute 20 left, 1st and 10 on the 25, go 75 and win a game. I haven't seen Dak do it.
He's a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. You could win in this league being a good quarterback, but all we have to point out to is last year up against the 49ers, that defense was championship caliber. They should have won the game. Tony Pollard goes out early. If you're that great of a quarterback, go get the job done. And I know the 49ers are a great team as well, but that's 2 years in a row. Dak couldn't get the snap off at the end of the year and then couldn't get the job done up against the 49ers in back-to-back seasons. So we're in agreement here, Channing Crowder, and I'm just wondering if he'll ever come on the show again after the way that the Cowboys fans have treated him. Man, they really dragged you.
Call me tomorrow.
There were so many people that were showing the video on social media of Crowder dapping up Dak at Cowboys practice.
Yeah.
Crowder didn't say he didn't like the guy. He literally was answering your question, and he answered it in a way that, again, made for good clickbait, but it really is no different than Tony Romo. Tony Romo was one of the best regular season quarterbacks you would ever find. And what's the one thing you think of when you think of Tony Romo? It's the fumbled extra
Against the
point
Seahawks.
it's like,
or losing to the Giants when they were the 1 seed too.
So it's I don't think what you said again.
It wasn't controversial at all. It's what everyone
wasn't.
Like,
it wasn't
95% of the people say in the media. I even had 2 radio hosts from Dallas reach out to me, and I said, "Are Cowboys fans really this delusional when it comes to their quarterback?" They're like, "No, it's just a very loud portion of the fan base, but the majority realizes that Dak is not a Super Bowl winning quarterback."
Well, what's the doctors that do vasectomies?
Where is this going?
The urologists.
Urologists.
I'm a little young for
right?
this conversation, if I'm being honest.
Let me see. This is good. I'll let you use this, Zach. You can steal it. There's a urologist in my family. I had a vasectomy. I love him to death. I'm not letting him do my vasectomy. And I talk about my vasectomy on a lot of my platforms. And he actually asked me, "Hey, man, you had a vasectomy?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Why don't you let me do it?" And I said, "I love you as a family member, but I don't think you're the best doctor. I can still enjoy a person, hang out with a person, dap a person up, give them a hug, but I can question what you do for a job, especially if my damn job is analyzing your damn job." That's the whole thing. I think that is a very good dude. Then he win like the Walter Payton of the Year awards and all that.
Man of the Year, yeah.
Like, he's a good human being.
Great dude,
but I've watched him fail at his job, and I don't know why I can't say it.
Well, I'll give you a better analogy here. It's the Cowboys fans every year. They are cockroaches, and they pop up, and then they start multiplying, and then the exterminator comes in during the postseason time, and all the cockroaches go away. But we hear them obviously loud and clear when they're 2-0. Let's see what happens when they get to an NFC title game, which they haven't done since 1995, if their quarterback can get them there this year. And the owner also has not paid the quarterback yet. Moving on. So if he was that great, wouldn't they take care of him entering the final year of his contract? Just saying.
Would you let Dak Prescott perform your vasectomy?
He has a steady hand.
I think he would chop the entire thing off, if I'm being honest, after your comments.
You really
he would take you out to dinner and snip.
Do you really want a family member, though, around your privates? You know what I mean? Because I'm assuming you would have to run into this guy, throughout the year at family functions.
I don't know. Big moment. I think he's messing it up, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, and it would create jealousy.
You think?
What's that taped to your stomach?
I will say, though, the other thing I enjoyed was all the comments about this nude resort that you go to that I had no clue. And I'm sitting there and my jaw's hitting the floor. I'm like, Channing Crowder does what?
Don't let that comment go past you, because he's told us about the vasectomy before. So because they're only concerned with the baggage, they take the unit for the procedure, and they tape it to your stomach so that it's out of the way.
Yeah.
Which is why I can't get a vasectomy, because there's nowhere to tape it, Zach. I've tried. After Crowder told the story, I was like, all right, well, let me see, because I'd like to get one. I'd like to.
Yeah. You know what I'm going to do during this conversation?
I'd like to have the freedom that comes with the
what my response is to all this stuff when it's an awkward moment? I'm just going to eat some seaweed here.
But I can't, I don't know what would happen there. There's no taping involved.
Maybe they could take a piece of like a tooth floss and wrap it around your waist. I don't know.
Like,
Here's the other thing.
circulation.
Now, I love Crowder, but I'm just wondering, and
Guillotine effect.
I don't think Crowder gives a crap what people think about him, clearly. What was Crowder saying behind the scenes about the interview? Was he like, oh, this Gelb guy, he got me, screw him, never going to talk to him again. What a jackass he is.
Be honest, Hawk.
He said, now you know why I was avoiding his call for about 3 weeks.
He saw what happened to Devo. He's like, I can't go on that show.
Bro, call me tomorrow. 6:20? I'm there.
All right, there you go. Zach Gelb, CBS Sports Radio Network. Thank you, Zach.
Not getting a vasectomy, by the way. That's how I want you to introduce me
You're
next
too
week.
young. You don't
Thank
even
you.
need to consider it. Zach Gelb, you hear him every night, CBS Sports Radio Network, and he's going to join us on Wednesdays in the 4 o'clock hour during football season.